How many times have we called something the worst day of our life, only to realize later that it was actually the beginning of something better? Sometimes, what feels like everything is falling apart is actually everything falling into place. And in the moment, it doesn't feel like growth, it feels like loss. Stay with me, because this story might change the way you see your problems forever. In a small village surrounded by green fields, where the mornings carried the smell of wet earth and the evenings echoed with distant temple bells, there lived an old man known as Karim Chacha. He had no wealth, no fame, just a small house and an old peepal tree outside. But there was something unusual about him, a calmness, a quiet smile, as if life hadn't broken him the way it breaks most people. At that time, the village was going through hardship. The rains had been weak, crops were failing, and many young men were leaving for the city without knowing if they would ever return. You could feel the heaviness in the air, like hope itself was slowly disappearing. People complained, blamed fate, and some had already given up trying. But Karim Chacha, he kept repeating the same quiet words, almost like a belief he refused to let die. What the eye sees as an ending, the heart, if trained right, can see as a turning. One cold morning, just before sunrise, a young farmer named Bilal came to him after walking for hours in silence. His clothes were covered in dust, his steps slow, like every step carried weight. He sat down, but couldn't speak at first. Sometimes pain is like that. It doesn't come out in words. And then, in a low, tired voice, he said, "I have tried everything, and still my family is suffering. Tell me, what is the point of hope when it keeps breaking?" Bilal hadn't just lost his crops. He had lost his savings, his peace, and slowly, the belief he once had in himself. The kind of belief that makes a man stand strong for his family. And one day, a thought crossed his mind that scared him more than anything else. That maybe he had become a burden on the very people he was trying to protect. There were moments when he didn't even want to go back home because he didn't know how to face their eyes. That kind of silence breaks a person from the inside. Karim Chacha didn't interrupt him. He simply listened, the way very few people do. Then quietly, he stood up and took Bilal to his garden. He pointed at a dry, lifeless plant. "What do you think?" he asked softly. "Is it dead?" Bilal looked at it and nodded. The old man smiled, but there was depth in that smile. "I didn't water this plant for 40 days, he said. "Everyone told me to give up on it, to stop wasting my effort." He paused, letting the words sink in. Then he looked at Bilal and said something that stayed with him forever. "I still came back and I watered it, not because I was sure it would survive, slow, but because I refused to become someone who gives up." And then, gently, like a truth spoken many times before, he said, "What the eye sees as an ending, the heart can turn into a new beginning." Something shifted inside Bilal in that moment. Not a miracle, not instant confidence, just a small, quiet shift. The kind that you can't explain, but you can feel. Here's the truth. In life, we cannot control everything. We cannot control when the rain will come, when loss will happen, or when pain will enter our lives. But there is one thing we always control, the story we repeat to ourselves every single day. Your mind is like a tree, and your thoughts are the water that feeds it. And whether you realize it or not, you are watering something every day. Science even explains this. It's called negativity bias. It means one painful moment can feel heavier than 10 beautiful ones. That's not because you are weak. It's because your brain is trying to protect you. But here's the part most people never learn. You can train it, slowly, deliberately, one thought at a time. So if you are going through something heavy right now, listen carefully. When you wake up tomorrow, before the world reaches you, remind yourself that you are still here, still standing. When a negative thought enters your mind, and it will, don't fight it. Just ask, is this helping me, or is it slowly destroying me? And most importantly, don't isolate yourself. Be around someone who still sees light when all you see is darkness. Bilal went home that day, not as a changed man, but as someone who decided not to give up. And sometimes, that decision alone is enough. Days passed, then weeks, and then months. And when the rains finally returned, his field slowly came back to life. But more importantly, something inside him came back to life too, the part of him that believed. So if you are listening to this right now, Take this as a sign. You are still in the story. You haven't reached the end. And maybe, just maybe, what feels like an ending in your life right now is quietly becoming your turning point. If you made it this far, comment just one word, turning, because someone out there might read it and find the strength they thought they had lost.